This is just a great episode. I really enjoyed doing it. We're going to look into wet fly dubbing, specifically for nymphs. This slide is really busy, so bear with me. Considerations when you're selecting wet dubbing would be color, if you want any enhancement or flash on it, how much movement in the water you'd like to see, the texture of the body of the fly, and do you want a loose body or would you really like a tight dubbed body? The three animals we're going to quickly look at are rabbit, possum, and there are a couple squirrels you also want to consider. We'll also touch on Antron and Prism SLF. And then there are commercial blends out there that you can purchase. Usually they are the basic natural animal with Antron. You really can't select a dubbing without realizing how small the dubbings are. If you look at a grain of salt, which is about 100 microns, and then you go down to a white blood cell, which is 25 microns, and then our dubbing, which is super small, anywhere from 9 to 25 microns. So we're dealing with diameters of fibers that are really, really small, which is kind of neat. First animal we're going to look at is rabbit, mainly because it's readily available, inexpensive, and you can get it in lots of colors. The interesting thing about rabbit, which is unique to it, is it has 3 hairs of different length and diameter. It has the long guide hairs, the medium length guard hairs, and then the down hairs. If you're going to cut your own from a pelt, you can leave in the different hairs based on the different effect that you would like. Now, rabbit is also very easy to dye, and you can cut it into different lengths if you want. The 3 hairs on the fur pelt are all 3 different diameters, as I said before. The guard hairs are at 27, the long guide hairs are at 48, and the down hairs are at 15 micrometers. So if you pull out the guide and guard hairs, you can get a really nice tight dubbed body. If you leave those in, you can get a nice furry body, as seen here. If you're going to buy yours in the little packages, I've noticed that the commercial dubbings leave in the guide and guard hairs. So if you want a really tight dubbed body without it being frizzy, you'll need to cut your own and you'll need to pull the guide hairs and guard hairs out. You can buy commercial blends that have Antron mixed with it. I think the Antron is kind of light on these. I would add a little bit more to get you to 20% Antron. I believe the ones you buy are around 10% Antron, and I don't think that gives you enough spark. But that's up to you to make whatever dubbing you like. A very popular wet fly dubbing is the gray squirrel because the guard hairs are relatively thick in diameter, but they're very stiff, so it makes a nice spiky body. It can be a little bit difficult to dub because of this. Now, gray squirrel is available in lots of colors from different manufacturers. When you buy different colored gray squirrel, you got to be very careful of how they get those colors. A lot of them mix the guard hairs only with Antron, and they label it squirrel dubbing. So that's very misleading. You ought to see my video on Squirrel for the details on blended commercial dubbings. There are some suppliers that do remove the guard hairs, which gives you a medium kind of spiky body, but a very tight body as well. Another note is that the down hairs on this animal are about 25 microns, which is at the upper end of the diameter of fibers of the 3 animals we're looking at. Another squirrel that I want to show you is pine squirrel, and that is because it is actually so drastically different from the gray squirrel. The pine squirrel's down is really short, as well as the guard hairs are fairly short as well. This will make it great for tiny flies because you can get a really tightly dubbed body. You can get pine squirrel in pelts, micro Zunker strips, and prepared dubbing. There are limited resources for pine squirrel in colors. I have been getting colored Zonker strips and harvesting my own pine squirrel. That way I can remove the guard hairs if I want and just leave the down and make even a tighter dubbed body. The down hairs are at the top thickness of the fibers we're looking at as far as diameter goes, but you can still make a really tight body for your tiny flies. There are several different species of squirrels that can give you different effects and different colors from the natural pelts. Using the gray squirrel as a reference, you'll see that the fox squirrel guard hairs are really, really thick and can make for a very spiky body. The red squirrel, you'll notice the down hairs are really, really thin and can make a tighter body. The last animal that we're going to quickly look at is possum. Possum is very, very popular because it will give you a really bushy looking body, as shown here. Now this is a single dub thread, but if you want an even bushier body, you can use a dubbing loop, and that would be this guy right here. Possum gives your fly a lot of motion because the guard hairs are soft and wispy, and they're actually very long, so you can leave them or cut them to the length that you want if you're making your own dubbing. You can also get possum dubbing in lots of colors from different suppliers. Interesting about possum that I've noticed is that the guard hairs have a translucency about them. That would tend to give your fly a look of an exoskeleton almost, seen by the fish in the water. The one synthetic that you can use by itself as a wet fly dubbing is Antron. Its fiber size a little bit large, but its specific gravity is 1.2, so your flies will sink maybe a little faster than the natural dubbings that are available. You can get it in lots of colors and different blends. Now, what Antron has going for it is this trilobal profile. Trilobal profile gives you some sparkle and flash. Antron can be a little bit difficult to dub, and I have shown this here. I dubbed a thread which is flash orange, and you can see the orange showing through. So when you dub with Antron, you want to either use white or a matching color. For me, I actually consider Antron as more of an enhancer and an additive rather than using it by itself. And that is to give my natural furs, which I like to use, a little bit of flash that would be missing otherwise. Another option that you have for adding flash to your wet flies is Prism SLF. Now make sure when you buy this, you get the Prism SLF, because the manufacturer uses a lot of different dubbings that calls synthetic living fiber that doesn't have the prism part of it. So the nice thing about Prism SLF is it simulates reflections and refractions that you would see in water. So you get this rainbow look. So it's a really nice flash to use as an additive. On its own, it looks a little bit ridiculous as a dubbing by itself, and that's because these fibers here are really giant ribbons that are 80 microns across. But adding flash, maybe 10–15% to your natural dubbings would make a really nice looking fly. I'm just going to quickly mention the ice dubs that are available, and they're from many manufacturers with different names, because if you look here, the bodies just look a little bit ridiculous. That concludes our quick reference look at the different dubbings for wet flies. I hope you found it informative, enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.